People ask me all the time about how to take care of orchids. It is one of the most commonly asked questions I receive. So we're going to talk about how to take care of your orchids and the 5 cultural elements that will set you up for success with your orchids. It's lighting, water, fertilizing, air circulation, and humidity. The most common mistake that I see with the orchids has to do with the watering. Generally speaking, orchids are usually growing up in the tree branches or on rocks, and they use their roots to hold on to the tree branches or the rocks for stability. And they also absorb their water and nutrients through their roots. But just think about it, up in the trees and on the rocks, it rains and the roots, they dry after each rain. When you're watering your orchids, make sure you water them thoroughly, the water drains out, and that you let them dry out between each watering. If they're outside, you might need to be watering them every other day. If they're inside and it's not very sunny, once every 2 weeks. But make sure your orchids dry out between each watering. It's critical. Now we're going to talk about the lighting for orchids. Different orchids require different forms of light. For example, this epidendrum needs a lot more light than the phalaenopsis. So you need to see what type of lighting your orchid needs, but what you generally want to look for is the coloring in the leaves. Do you see this dark green color on these leaves compared to this one? Do you see how there's some yellow undertones on this one? This is what you want. And it means that you're pushing the plant as much as you can. You don't want to push it to the point that you start seeing burned leaves. That you don't want. But isn't it interesting? The plant with the lighter coloring is the one that's blooming. The third cultural element that will set you up for success is fertilizing. Orchids love to be fed, but not very much at any particular time. Think of them as little birds that you just want to give them a little bit of food each time you feed them. I really like water-soluble organic fertilizers. One of my favorites is MicroLife. I think they do a fabulous job and a great line of organic fertilizers. So let's say the formula says 1 teaspoon of fertilizer per gallon of water. For the orchids, go 1/2 to 1/4 of a teaspoon. You just put a wee little bit in there because of the way the leaf is shaped. You see how there's a V? You never want to water in the V. You always want to water at the base of the plant. And just let the water run through and the plant will be so happy. So feed them often, but just a little at each time. So we're almost at the end. We're at cultural element number 4, and that's humidity. And here in Dallas, that's not a big problem. It gets pretty humid here in Dallas. Also, if you have a greenhouse, that will maintain a lot of humidity. If you don't have a greenhouse or you don't live in an area that's really humid, then try to have your orchids on a windowsill in your kitchen, near the kitchen sink, or in your bathroom. A lot of people put their orchids in the bathroom, and that way you can get some humidity, or you can mist them. But once again, be careful when you're misting them. You don't want to have any water pooling in the V of the phalaenopsis plants. Just make sure your orchids get some humidity and they will love you for it. The 5th element that's going to set you up for success is air circulation. I don't know why people don't talk about air circulation more often. It is so important. When you go into a commercial greenhouse, your hair is blown back from all the fans and evaporative coolers and whatnot in the greenhouses. And think about when your plants are outside, there's a breeze usually. It doesn't have to have a breeze 24/7, but you need to have some air circulation. We don't have them turned on right now because they're loud, but I have 2 evaporative coolers and I also have 2 fans, and I have a lot of air moving in this greenhouse. If you don't have a greenhouse, then whenever it's not freezing, Put your plants outside. Put them near a window. Open a window. If you have a ceiling fan, turn on the ceiling fan. Give your plants a good breeze to enjoy. I know I enjoy a good breeze, so your plants will enjoy it a lot and they'll be a lot healthier. If you couldn't tell by now, I love orchids. They have brought me decades and decades of joy. They're so easy to take care of. Don't be afraid of them. They're not expensive anymore. So buy an orchid, try it out. If it dies, do not worry. Just get another one and keep trying, and you'll learn and you will have success with your orchids.
Or you can keep this out, that's fine.
Okay, it's all right. Go wee!
She cried.